let's be real. Let's be 110% real with each other. I am too salty and too biased about this topic to give proper analysis. But you know what? I'm here, and no amount of whining is gonna change what's happened. No amount of complaining is gonna rectify this in my mind. So let's just do this, mostly for me. This is for me, to grow as a person and hopefully move on. Just like the Rams did. Look, I'm not a reporter. If anything, this would be an editorial video. But let's be clear, this is the average view of what an everyday person with limited access and knowledge of the situation is left to remember the Rams by. And I feel like that's a valid view. So I'll tell you, as best as I can recall, about the story of the St. Louis Stadium Task Force that the national media didn't really give people any clue that ever existed. I can only tell you what I've read, and I'll link a bunch of stuff in the description about where I've read this and try and confirm where I've heard things from. But from what I've read, the Stadium Task Force was left in the dark. They had no idea what Stan Kroenke wanted, other than some general guidelines that every owner would want. And those are two things. They want, three things. They want a new stadium altogether. They want the latest advances in football technology as a part of that stadium, and they want it all paid for with public money. That would be an ideal owner situation. And the city said, okay, our stadium isn't even paid off. The Edward Jones Dome was state-of-the-art when the team moved there in '95. As a matter of fact, it's only just now 20 years old. So we feel like we could renovate it, but I guess that's not what you want. So even before we finish paying off this stadium, I guess if we really scrape together and voters vote the right way, which we can work on, by the way, we might be able to scrape enough money from, education or, police training to get a stadium together for you. Now, the Stadium Task Force was a collective put together last year, headlined by Dave Peacock. Since Stan Kroenke gained ownership of the team, he's been clamoring for a new stadium. It's something that he obviously wanted, so we're like, okay, work with us and we can figure out a plan that'll work. And that never happened. So they said, okay, it looks like it's up to us. So they coordinated with the mayor, they coordinated with other St. Louis officials, and they got together and worked up one big proposal to present to Stan Kroenke and the NFL as this is something that isn't necessarily viable for us, but in extreme circumstances, we would be more in favor of this plan than anything else. Now, the mayor wanted to have the stadium be built downtown so it could support downtown business in the post-October months. Now, that would be fine, even though I'm always concerned with flooding, and I feel like I live in North County, St. Louis. There's this old abandoned mall that would be the perfect lot for a stadium and really drum up some business in a semi-forgotten about region of the city. But whatever, we could get a stadium working somewhere out here. There's enough land to work with. You can make a new place solely about football. You got a lot of space to work with. We can handle this. Let's do it, right? So they pulled together, got an offer together, had a 3D rendering of it, and had a meeting downtown, I think with team president Kevin Demoff at the time. Shoot, they even got a sponsorship for the stadium. It was going to be National Car Rental Field, and they had schematics and everything, and they had a artist rendition, and they had a 3D fly-through of the stadium and everything. Things were looking pretty nice. Wow, here's a big step in the city fighting to keep its team. We have a sponsor, we have a task force, and we have a plan that isn't favorable to us, but it's something that we could compromise on. That didn't make the news. And you know why? Because the very next week, Kroenke released his plans to build a stadium in Inglewood. That's right. as they were assembling the task force, Stan Kroenke had already purchased land and began breaking ground in Inglewood. His mind was already made up. It was more than just his mind. It was his money at this point. One of Kroenke's biggest complaints was that the city wasn't ponying up enough money to help build the stadium. And they were saying that's because we're paying off the last one we built for you. The problem with this is he apparently had enough money to purchase land and begin building with even less help in Inglewood. I don't understand how you can ask for more money while you're actively spending it on something else. Now, let's just assume Kroenke had already made that decision. Let's just assume him and Demoff already knew what they wanted to do. They had it run over with Roger Goodell, and they knew this is the direction we're moving. This makes all of their next actions make complete sense when you consider what they've already decided to do. You know, all the angry fans who are already pretty salty about us trying to leave them? Well, let's do everything in our power to piss them off and to make them really not matter anymore. Now stop, okay? I get it. There probably wasn't some anti-fan initiative being enacted, making people not contribute to the team so you have a report to write. I understand that. But what you gotta understand is that's how it feels. That's how it feels to the St. Louis football fans who suffered through trash football, waiting for this team to be good and getting no feedback from the people in charge of making that happen. So, early 2016, 3 teams applied for relocation: the Chargers, Raiders, and Rams. And we know the outcomes of these bids, at least in August 2016. But what you probably didn't know, if you weren't in the St. Louis area, was that when Kroenke submitted his bid for relocation, he wrote basically a diss letter about St. Louis to Roger Goodell. Basically, I like this quote from Bernie Miklas. In the relocation application, Bornstein and Kroenke stopped just short of depicting St. Louis as a real-life setting for a Mad Max film. Link to that article below. You want to know why there was no support for this team before they left? Because we couldn't enjoy the mediocre season without thinking, is this going to be the last home game I get a chance to go to? I go to college in Iowa. It's not rare for me to see another person from the Midwest wearing like a Rams t-shirt or something. So if I see another person, I'll start up a conversation and be like, hey, what do you think about the team this year? We would talk about Tavon Austin finally being used correctly. And then we'd be like, do you think it's going to be the last season? If you're in a relationship with someone and all they do is talk about how they could be so much happier somewhere else, of course you're not going to be fully committed in that relationship. It's hard to want to go spend money on tickets going to see a team when you're not sure if this is going to be the last game next year or 2 years from now or not at all. The swirling questions floating around before every season never were answered by the front office, and we as fans were left to wander around Edward Jones Dome praying that our team wouldn't leave. I'd almost say good riddance. So yeah, when the move eventually came, there were people feeling like, why bother? Would the prince still dance with Cinderella if he knew she would leave at midnight? It wasn't enough just to leave. They had to burn every single bridge, and there's nothing I can say that will make me ever cheer for this franchise or feel the same way about this ever again. It was even the little things. Rams COO Kevin Demoff complained that they couldn't even eat the food served to them in St. Louis. Definitely getting under the skin of local St. Louis food vendors like Pie Pizzeria that regularly delivered food to the Rams. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, anything they got was for free. But I guess money's no object in LA, baby. We're making the big bucks now, boy. And this team has never been more in your face than they are this offseason, desperately trying to make LA fans care about this 7-9 team. They're an average football team. They really are. And now this same team who I've watched go 6-10, 7-8-1, 7-9 twice, whatever, is now good enough to be playing Sunday Night Football in the middle of the season against the Giants and is on prime time 3 times this year, I believe. I can't stand it. Aaron Donald was Defensive Rookie of the Year, making splashy plays from week 1, and no one cared. But now, oh yeah, he's in a big market. This man's the next Warren Sapp, minus the tomfoolery. Johnny Hekker is gonna be a star, cause that man has personality, and no one appreciated it, but now this dude's about to get his own reality show. Ooh, and let's talk about reality shows. This team wasn't interesting enough, even though it had all the same people there, minus Chris Long, who's a lot of fun, and James Laurinaitis, who's a great story. But now, all of a sudden, they're a Hard Knocks team. Oh, not just by accident. They asked for it. Even though just last year, Jeff Fisher said, I don't know, that'd be a little bit too much of a distraction. During the draft, I watched almost every single pick happen on NFL Network. And they had in later rounds contest winners and like season ticket holders and I don't know, disabled kids announcing the picks, do a little give back to the community. And they even had like this draft party in Mexico City because the Raiders were going to play an international game there. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. But the Rams had Universal Studios representing them and some, I don't know, executive there announcing it. Like, this team lost all its personality. They're just supplementing it with Hasbro and licensing. I can't stand it. It's really gross. We got Marilyn Monroe lookalikes announcing picks, and the Browns got a bunch of happy kids. Who was it? I don't know. Like Seahawks football play 60 camp. All those kids were like, yeah, let's announce a pick. And the Rams got, the fakest stuff. I can't stand it. Okay. I'm wrapping up. Look, it's hard for me to support this team anymore. I know I'm not going to be able to. I can't with a good conscience. I can't be excited about Todd Gurley because the chances of me seeing him play have significantly reduced. I never saw Tavon Austin run back a kick return or punt return in person. I'm not going to be able to. I can tell you that right now. And you might be saying, wow, dude, even with all this, you're overreacting a little bit. You don't have to stop cheering for the team. Like, you follow all these players. Like, you should still be a fan of them, right? I can't do that. Here's why. In the 2016 Hall of Fame class, Orlando Pace, Ohio State graduate, hey, Ohio, and St. Louis Rams, Hall of Fame left tackle during the greatest show on turf era, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. During his speech, he thanked his family, his friends, but you know who else he thanked? He thanked the city of St. Louis and all the fans. And you know what he said? I would play the clip, but I don't want this video removed for any reason. Just a couple sentences, nothing too bad. All he said was the Rams brought a championship to that city. Nobody can take that away. How sweet. That shout out to St. Louis will be forever immortalized. Wrong! This was the first year that the NFL had all the Hall of Fame speeches uploaded to YouTube almost directly after. But the 37-second clip that shouted out St. Louis was edited out from Orlando Pace's speech. None of the other Hall of Famer speeches were edited, just the part that mentioned that the NFL happened to take something away from a certain city. That's all. When it was reported on SB Nation and other sites, I'm getting my sources from them right now. Brian McCarthy, giving the only available statement on the issue, said that the NFL Media Group said this was a technical error and they are in the process of uploading the full version. That's what our time in St. Louis was, huh? A technical error. This team tried to edit out a large part of my childhood. So don't get mad at me for trying to edit them out of my memory. I don't want to hear anyone say, this guy's not a true Rams fan. He would support them wherever they're from. You can't diss the city I live in and say I'm not enough of a fan when this team is actively trying to make us look dumb. Cause shoot, you know what? Let's say I keep all my Rams gear. Let's say I get out my Rams t-shirt, hoodie, beanie, baseball cap, scarf, custom jersey. Let's say I get all that stuff out and I rep the Rams even harder than I have in years past. Can't go to a game, but I still follow the team. I still claim them all the time, no matter what. 7-9, 9-7, 2-14, 1-15, whatever. And let's say that team does it. They fight through the playoffs. They shut down the Cardinals, because you are not about to go to the Super Bowl without going through the Cardinals this year. I'm telling you. But anyway, you make it through the Cardinals and you win it all. Where's that Lombardi going to? When they're having the parade and confetti's raining down, Aaron Donald's not going to be holding that Super Bowl MVP trophy under the arch. And let's be honest. Let's be 110% real. Isn't that what the goal is?